the redevelopment of the Central Vista project by the current government. The Supreme Court said exercise of power by centre is just and proper, and modification in land use of master plan stands confirmed. The court has added that approval from the Heritage Conservation Committee will be needed when the construction work is to begin. The Supreme Court also directed all project proponents to get approval from the Heritage Committee. The Supreme Court further added that smog towers must be an integral part of the Central Vista project and also asked the government to use environment-friendly construction material. Urban Affairs Minister Hardeep Puri welcomed the verdict and said that the government will adhere to the highest standard during the construction. What's interesting to note, viewers, here is that it was a split verdict. On a 3-judge bench, it was 2:1, while a dissent note was put in by Justice Sanjeev Khanna, who primarily said public not properly consulted on the project, approval of Heritage Conservation Committee needed. But there is also a lacuna in all of this, because the 3-judge bench, the two which actually gave the go-ahead, also added that this has to do with governance and policy, and the Supreme Court can't really step into that.
Some comments from the opposition as well, who say that these are misplaced priorities in times of an economic recession, when we're grappling with a pandemic. This is not the time to invest this kind of money.
Let me recall the memory, those who feign what I call selective or collective amnesia. One of the gentlemen who made some comments to that effect had actually given an interview to the Hindu in 2012, very clearly stating that the current parliament building is inadequate, it's not functional, and we need a new building. This was in 2012, when a Congress government was in power at the centre as part of the UPA. The then OSD to the Honourable Speaker, Shrimati Meera Kumarji, he wrote a letter to the then Secretary in the Ministry of Urban Development, listing the very reasons which this government, Modi ji's government, has advanced to bring a new building. Now, one of their slightly, I would say, colorful language about a vanity project, I think she's called it. This is not a vanity project, madam. This is a posterity project. And this lady has said, what vaccine? Now, I'm amused sometimes. I mean, I'm bewildered, but, my bewilderment doesn't last too long. I'm more amused that these people are slowly but surely ensuring their own political irrelevance. They are against the armed forces. They question their valor when it comes to border-related issues with one of our neighbor and surgical strikes, etc., number one. They question the vaccine, all right? They say that the vaccine should be slowed down. I think scientists, the medical professionals are explaining that this is an emergency use and the vaccine is totally safe. It has been, clinical trials have taken place. And as we go along, now you have a choice. You can sit back and say, no, normal procedures apply. Only when we have 100% efficacy produced. You know how long the FDA or others in the normal times take to clear drugs? It takes 10 years sometimes. Do you want to wait till the pandemic has created total chaos?
I guess the argument is about the timing of it. Like, why now when we need the funds otherwise?
No, you don't need the funds. Let me tell you, this is a project which will take 5 to 6 years. And it is not, nobody's saying that it's going to be at the cost of the vaccine, number one. Number two, this project started years ago, okay? It is planning. Now, does it mean that when something like COVID comes, we stop it? I mean, it's the other way around. In order to grow, you need to construct. And in fact, this produces employment, but this also produces a sense of national confidence. So this project, along with the many other projects, are not going to be held back because of COVID. In fact, COVID reinforces the need for us to go ahead and do economic activity, which is what we are doing in civil aviation. I can't say I'll stop all the flights till the, virus has gone away.
All right. Meanwhile, my colleague Shiv is just standing by, and he's going to take us through, explain the difference between the old parliament versus the new parliament, which will now be constructed. Over to you, Shiv.
When it's ready a few years from now, it will be democracy's new abode here in India, and it will be replacing an iconic building in the national capital. Of course, I'm talking about the new upcoming Parliament building. Well, the old one, as you know, is circular in structure. It's one of the most recognized monuments in the country. The new building, as you can see, is going to be triangular. So that's going to be its shape. Now, the old Parliament building has an area of about 47,000 square meters. Necessarily, the new one needed to be built larger, and therefore 64,500 square meters is going to be the area there. Now, the old Parliament seats about 800 persons only. That might seem like a large number, but it isn't enough for India's elected representatives. 1,608 persons will be seated in the new Parliament that's coming up. Now, the existing Parliament that's there, when it was built, it cost just 83 lakh rupees to build. Many decades ago. The new Parliament is estimated to cost about 971 crore rupees. Now, the old Parliament obviously was built so long ago that there are many safety norms that need upgradation. It needs modern fire safety infrastructure, some of which can't happen because it's such an old construction. The new one's going to have state-of-the-art safety norms and fire infrastructure, so there will be absolutely no compromise on that. Not fully earthquake safe was one of the other very big reasons why a new Parliament building was needed. Needless to add that the triangular new Parliament building will be completely earthquake safe. It's being designed up in that way. Limited parking space in the congested central part of Delhi in the old Parliament building. The new Parliament building will have space for 11,000 cars in one go. There will be an office for every MP in the new Parliament building. That space has been a constraint in the old Parliament building. So space, as you can see, is a big compelling factor. Now, it took 6 years to build the old Parliament building when it was built. The new Parliament building, the construction of which is going to begin now, is going to be completed by August 2022. So just over about 2.5 years from now is when the new building will finally be ready.
Thank you, Shiv. That's my colleague Shiv taking us through on the redevelopment of the new Parliament. But it's not just the Parliament, that 3-kilometer stretch, and those of us who are familiar with Lutyens Delhi would know, right, stretching from Rajpath all the way to India Gate, all of that is going to be redeveloped as well, at the cost of 20,000 crore. So the questions we're asking in this debate, viewers, is, can the Modi government now finally claim victory? It's come under heavy criticism, being called a vanity project of the Prime Minister. The Supreme Court has now set the record straight, saying, go ahead, you can build the Central Vista project. So can the Modi government claim victory? Or the debate, moral debate of it, continues, of it being the symbol of New India, which the government says it will be, or the vanity project we were talking about. The other question, which many have put forth, is, should the government have waited till the pandemic is over? And lastly, where the opposition is concerned, time to end the politics over the Central Vista. The Supreme Court has set the record straight. Let's cut across to our guest this evening's viewers. I have Gaurav Bhatia, National Spokesperson, Bharatiya Janata Party; Supriya Srinate, National Spokesperson, Congress; Madhav Raman, Principal and Co-Founder, Anagram Architects; and Raju Lakshmi Joshi, she's an architect. Gaurav Bhatia, congratulations in order or not, because I'm just going, sir, through the 179-page order under Justice A.M. Khanwilkar, and of course it's a split verdict, 2:1. And what it says, Gaurav Bhatia, is the premise of the judgment comes from the fact that the courts cannot be called upon policy, which is the government's job, or governance. We are compelled to wonder if we, in absence of a legal mandate, can dictate to the government to desist from spending money on one project and instead use it for the other, or if we can guide the government on ethical or moral matters. So, Gaurav Bhatia, does the moral debate still continues? The government spending 20,000 crores on this project?
I think it's the victory of our democracy. Parliament is not just stone, mortar and bricks. It is also the temple of our democracy. And since you have brought up the topic of dissent, one of the judges not agreeing with the majority judgment, let me, for the benefit of the viewers, start with a paragraph. What is the importance of the majority judgment and the dissent? And this is held by the Supreme Court. And I'm quoting from Manmohan versus State, para 60. And it says as under, It is settled in law that dissenting opinions have little precedential value, and there is no difference in operation between decisions rendered unanimously or those tendered by majority, albeit with minority dissenting views. So therefore, yes, we need to respect the dissenting view, but 432 pages of the majority judgment, Preeti, are equally important. We should go through it, and I will tell you what are the aspects that have been raised before the Honorable Supreme Court, and then how have they answered. In short, Parliament kept in dark. This has been answered to say that no, it is not correct. There was a detailed presentation made by the members of the Treasury bench, and leaders from all political parties were part of it. Budgetary allocation has also been made by a committee which has members from 14 parties. Undue haste. The Supreme Court has held no, there is no undue haste, and proper procedure has been followed in substantial compliance. Wastage of public money, the Supreme Court says no, it is not. Rather, in rentals alone, 1,500 crores would be saved every year. And there are 4 or 5 other reasons which I will give later. But I am right now focusing on the judgment. 4th point was lack of information. The Supreme Court has said public notices were put out, and NOC was also put out in the public domain. Environmental clearance not obtained. It says EAC is an expert body and it has applied its mind. Lack of public participation, the Supreme Court says no. And then it has approved the project. So the larger debate is that if a verdict of the Supreme Court is delivered, whether the opposition that is in a habit of questioning even Supreme Court verdicts if they are inconvenient to them will accept it with humility and grace or not. And a government is elected by the people of the country. We are here to take decisions in the interest of the nation, and it is not good to take the word opposition literally and oppose everything that the government does.
All right, Gaurav Bhatia, before I bring in Supriya Srinate, you've underlined the virtues and the sanctity of a democracy. While we were spending 20,000 crores, was the opposition included? Was it given a lowdown on what this project was going to be, sir? Also, in terms of tendering, why was it so opaque? Where most of the architects in this country who put in petitions with the government didn't even know what the Central Vista project is. Why was it, completely opaque? Why no transparency? Because isn't that the tenet of democracy in the first place?
Yeah, so first you said
1,000 crores, I don't know where you get the number from, because the total cost of the Parliament building would be around 1,000 crores.
That's the problem.
And as I have said,
Mr. Bhatia, that's the problem, because there's... No, I'll let you complete. Because there's so little transparency, it's difficult to... Sir, because there's little transparency, you tell us what the figure is, because I've been trying to research, and the figure I've come up with is 20,000 crores.
Okay. So, Preeti, first of all, there is no problem as such. You are an anchor. You have the right to ask me questions. As the representative of the party, I have to answer those questions. And I will answer them. So, the cost of the building is around 971 crores. And there would be additional cost also which will be incurred in furnishing the building and also ensuring that it is modernized so that it can be used by the MPs. But please, I would like to ask you, when VVIP choppers worth around 3,000 crores were being bought and our Jawans were asking for bulletproof jackets, was that not questionable? This is for the democracy of our country. How can somebody say it's a luxury? If you ask a citizen or a member of parliament, it is a necessity that has been, now moved on with. So therefore, I will just give 3-4. There was lack of space in the existing building, which is 100 years old, fire hazard, and more than 50 crores were being spent. No, that was not possible in this building. There is a report to that effect.
Mr. Bhatia, there seems to be a problem with your audio line, sir. Mr. Bhatia, will you correct? I'm coming right back to you. We can't hear you. There's a problem with your audio line. We're going to just recheck that. I'll just cut across to Supriya Srinate till then. Supriya Srinate, the court has said it. And, now that we are quoting the judgment, I want to just take out a bit and read it out to you. There were no infirmities in clearance granted for the project. The exercise taken by the central government in change of land use, which you've contested, your party's contested Ms. Srinate, of the project's Master Plan 2021 is legal and valid. The recommendation by the Environment Committee was just and legal. Authorities executing the project will have to get clearances. So that is also out there. Now the Supreme Court has laid it bare. Why the politics, Ms. Srinate?
So this is Supriya Srinath, and for the last 5 minutes, I did hear the BJP spokesperson. He began speaking at 9:14, it's 9:20. For roughly 5.5 minutes, he tried to explain why everything is hunky-dory with this project. I'm going to give you two answers. The first answer is, prima facie, we do not have an objection with the construction of a new parliament or a new Central Vista, but in politics, things are about being sensitive, things are about timing. Is an economy in recession for the first time the right time for a project like this? Is joblessness, 35 lakh jobs were lost in November alone, is that the good time for a project like this? Is a global pandemic, and all these approvals have come during a global pandemic, the right time for a project like this? And more important than not, look at the kind of cuts the central government has taken. DA has been cut, and to the tune of 45,000 crore rupees for central government employees, for soldiers and for military pensioners. DA has been cut, MP lads have been cut, MP salaries have been reduced. All of that accounts to one thing, that this is the time for fiscal prudence. We are going in for fiscal profligacy instead. I mean, is this a good time? You're selling your profitable PSUs. Is this a good time to do something like this? Is the first question. And the second answer that I would want to give, with all due respect to the Supreme Court, and my friend from the BJP was trying to say how this new parliament is going to be a temple of democracy. In a temple of democracy, dissent is as important as the majority judgment. And let us not forget that there is a very important dissent that has come in from Justice Khanna, who talks about he is not in favor of the land use and how they have been changed. He also believes the environment impact assessment that has been done has not been proper, and that dissent has to be taken in note. Yes, the majority judgment will prevail, but while quoting temple of democracy, remember, dissent is a very important part of this. So all I will say is, at a time when you are taking money away from your soldiers who are at the border and not giving them DA, or at a time when your economy is in recession in the first 70 years, or at a time when joblessness is peaking in the last 6 months, is this a right time for this kind of discretionary spending? Why can this money not be put to better use? Of course, build a parliament. Wait for a few years. Who's denying you that right? You are in government. You can build parliament. But don't hide behind a majority judgment, because the dissent also raises very, very important questions, which it looks like the BJP wants to gloss over. I also want to make one very important point here. I think a passing reference was made about 15 crore renters. I don't think people understand enough that all the buildings that are housed in the parliament or in North Block or the bhavans there are all leased out by LNDO. It collects rentals from there which are non-remunerative, and these rentals are then deposited in the Consolidated Fund of India. It's a zero-sum rental game. Please understand that. Please don't mislead the nation. That's the least we will expect the BJP to do.
All right. Apologies for getting your surname wrong, Ms. Srinath. I want to, Gaurav Bhati, I'll come to you, but if you allow me, I just want to open up the panel a bit. I want to cut across to Madhav Raman, Principal, Co-founder, Anagram Architects. Madhav, you've been very vocal on registering your displeasure. You're one of the petitioners as well. The Supreme Court has pretty much now given the go-ahead.
Let me correct you. I'm not a petitioner, but you are right. I've been following the project, and there are many, many problems with the project. And I appreciate Mr. Bhatia's points, but I'd like to rebut him.
Come in, Mr. Raman. Go ahead.
Okay. So, primarily, firstly, I'd like to correct you also, Preeti. I think you should stop projecting this as a go-ahead to the project. Both the majority and the minority opinion have been very clear that the project is work in progress. The majority has expressed satisfaction with what they view under their judicial review, as they are saying that according to them under judicial review, the government has so far behaved according to what they feel is good enough. The dissent, and this is very important, I'm glad both the party spokespersons have agreed that you have to take in the dissenting view with as much importance as the majority view. The minority view has in fact rubbished the entire process of public consultation, because the public consultation is written into the law. Now, I would advise that we all, with as much humility and value that the court has put in by hearing this matter in 40 plus hearings held over 8 months, because the government has told them it's an urgent matter, they have spent all this effort, they've given us a 600-page judgment, which is a split verdict, 2:1. It's not unanimous. So it's better to focus on what is common to the two opinions. One of the things that is common is they have said public opinion, public consultation has to be meaningful. They differ on what is enough for it to be meaningful. And I might as well say that they have both put emphasis on the Heritage Conservation Committee's scrutiny that is still not happened. Please understand this is work in progress as far as the government is concerned. Please read the dissenting opinion. It makes very clear mandates on what the government is expected to do within 7 days. Last time I was on on your channel, I had made a point that Mr. Puri had said he would share on August 2020. He said within a few weeks, we will share a website. Justice Khanna has made it a point to record in his dissent that he expects that website up in 7 days. So there is plenty of learning. This is a masterclass in constitutional propriety that the bench has given all of us, including diligent citizens like myself, that we are to assert ourselves, to inform ourselves so that we can productively and meaningfully contribute through public consultation to the proper conducting of lawful conduct of this project. So I feel that your putting out the thing that there's a green signal is completely unwarranted. It's premature. Let us now see what view the HCC takes, unless Mr. Bhatia feels that that is also a foregone conclusion, which I would hope is not the case.
Come in, because ultimately it comes down to, we began with the virtues of democracy right in the beginning. It does come out to complete lack of transparency and the opaqueness of this project. We still don't know, you were actually breaking down the monies of it all. We still don't know whether it is 20,000 less or more.
Okay.
And
so,
in a democracy, if I just add very quickly, I want to say that the 20,000 crore project that you have declared today, 971 on television, is only going to employ 2,000 people. So the economic benefits of this the dissenting opinion makes this point very, very clearly, that the cost benefit analysis has not happened.
All right. Okay. Mr. Bhatia, appreciate the patience. Go ahead.
No issues. Thank you. So first I will respond to some of the points made by the Congress spokesperson. And she had raised the point that politics is all about sensitivity and timing. And I would only say that, yes, we all know how sensitive the Congress is when it comes to not even providing, and I reiterate, bulletproof jackets to our soldiers when they were asking for it, and purchasing VVIP choppers. The timing now. The timing is also very crucial. Parliament is there to discuss, deliberate, and to oppose. But have we seen Rahul Gandhi even attending the Parliament? So I know they're not worried about a new building. Now, I will also like to say the point on consolidated fund made by my co-panelist is also not correct. What are we saying? We'll save 1,500 crores, even if it comes out of consolidated fund of India and it would be replenished, does not take away from the fact that it would be depleted to that extent. And that is how we are saving money. Now, responding to the other panelist, I would only say this. Sir, the Supreme Court majority opinion, if we are saying we respect the minority opinion, you will also agree. The majority opinion is the law of the land. That is to be implemented. And that has value and precedence over the minority opinion. And yes, I must also say it's an ongoing project. And that is why it pains Madhavji that in an ongoing project, the opposition can only create hurdles. First and foremost, there is a committee, and page 79 says participation of members of all political parties, which include DMK, All India Trinamool Congress Party, and there are many others. So I will ask you, Madhavji, don't you think it is a better forum to discuss and deliberate in the committee rather than creating hurdles? And once the Supreme Court has also given a verdict, you come back and you cast aspersions either on the judiciary, like it happened in other cases like Judge Loya, Ram Temple, Rafael, where Rahul Gandhi had to apologize before the Supreme Court. So in a democracy, it is representative democracy, and the government of the day takes these decisions. If you don't like them, you have a legal recourse. That legal recourse has been availed, and now I think you should wait for the project to come and respect the systems of the democracy.
Madhav, you want to answer? Then I'll go across to Ms. Srinate.
May I just very quickly say, I'm not a petitioner. It is not for me to express happiness or sadness on the judgment. I'm just respectfully pointing out that we must take the judgment in its entirety. There has been a very big exposition in this judgment on what is exactly the limits to judicial review. The majority opinion, Mr. Bhatia will agree with me, has, in its wisdom, accepted the assurance given to it by government. The minority opinion merely states that the evidence of application of mind is not there. Even the majority says that you see, the fact that you're issuing notices does not mean evidence of application of mind. It means we need the studies, all these, you are saying many things about earthquake problems and so on and so forth. Please bring that into the public domain before you go to the HCC.
Can I?
So
all right, okay. Mr. Bhatia, give me a minute. I just want to take the debate further, if I'm allowed. I want to bring in Raju Lakshmi Joshi as well. Ms. Joshi, there's one thing to say that which the Congress is saying, that the timing is all wrong. You know, why spend the money right now? You have a sluggish economy. You know, why do it? But also the other point is, should it be done at all? Because we are talking about changing pretty much history. Is it right to do?
Very firstly, I must say that since we are all speaking about, this temple of democracy, I think that we all need to learn to respect the order of the Supreme Court. I think that is the very first thing that we need to take into account. Because like I was listening to the need for, the respect to be given to dissent. But what about, the actual order? So,
okay.
What is the need for the actual change in all of this is that, there is always this need to evolve in design, the need to evolve in the planning, in the town planning. There have been so many improvements in the technology. There have been so many improvements in the way structures have been built. And obviously we are falling short of space.
So the need to evolve, we can't build a new century on old laws and old structures. Supriya Srinate.
Let me finish, Preeti.
I have no issues with anybody talking about.
Go ahead, Ms. Srinate.
Can I come in?
Yes, go ahead.
I have a very important point to make, and I think the important point is that the Supreme Court's judgment is respected for what it's worth. It has opined and given a judgment on the procedural and the administrative part of decision making. It has not opined whether a new Central Vista right now is needed, what kind of costs will be incurred. So let's be very clear on that, and on that I agree
but
with
Mr. Nate, it's left that up to the government. It's left that up to the government of the day.
Can I respond to
that? It is left that bit up to the government of the day.
Exactly my point. And which is where the government of the day needs to see where the priority lies. Should the priority be to fix the economy, create more jobs, do some direct transfers, put some money in the hands of the people so the consumption cycle picks up because it's completely dampened? Or should it be employing 2,000 people, which does not add up to the cost-benefit analysis of a Central Vista project like now? And the second important point that I want to make, and I want to make that very quickly, is that this is going to take away almost 90% of land that is right now open for public consumption. It has also very contrivingly broken down the entire project into smaller units, and which is why environmentalists are up in arms that this compromises the environmental impact assessment that should have been done for the whole project. I am not even going to get into that. I will still say, when it is left in the government's court, the government needs to have its moral compass right, and the moral compass points towards holding a discretionary expenditure like this on hold for now. There is no denying that.
Mr. Bhatia, what do you make of the charge that this is an exercise in vanity? It's an attempt to leave the legacy of our Prime Minister?
See, I would respectfully disagree with the Congress spokesperson, and I'll give my reasons also. It is not for the Supreme Court to decide whether there should be a new parliament building or Rafale jets should be bought and at what price. There are many verdicts of the Honorable Supreme Court that this lies in the domain of the elected government. And that is why this government is acting. And this is not a government like the UPA government, which was suffering from policy paralysis. Historic decisions like implementation of 1 lakh 1 pension, which was pending for 35 years. GST implementation, Article 370.
But Mr. Bhatia, it really isn't political, sir, is it? It's really not as political as for the citizen partnership in this. There are a lot of people who are looking at this. I know, Madhav, I know you want to come in. Just give me a minute, but...
Can I complete
yes,
myself?
please complete.
I don't think you interrupted anybody. If I waited for my turn, you
Sir,
can
please
extend
go
me
ahead.
the same courtesy.
Please.
Thank you. So, second point is, Supriya ji talks about, wastage of land. I would just like to remind her, three members of the same family, Sonia Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi and Priyanka Vadra Gandhi not so long ago, had 3 separate government bungalows. And, bigger than any other leader has. If you're so worried about land, please ask them to vacate those.
There are 2 elected MPs, please understand, and one was an SPG
really?
protectee.
Okay,
I mean, what are you talking about? There are 2 elected MPs. So 2 elected MPs
now
cannot
why
have
is she
2 separate
interrupting
government
me?
bungalows.
Why is she interrupting
What sort of
me?
nonsense?
Okay, can we just go one by one? Can we just go one by one?
SPG protectee.
Okay.
I mean, let's not make irrelevant.
Please,
Okay, Mr. Bhatia, please, Mr. Bhatia, make your point. Mr. Nate, he didn't, according to the same
there are 2
privilege.
elected MPs.
He allowed you to speak according to the same privilege.
Congress spokesman.
Madam, according to the same privilege. Mr. Bhatia, quickly make your point. Then I want to go.
Thank you. Thank you. And last but not the least, I know that they will not be able to be graceful enough to accept the Supreme Court verdict, which is final in nature. You may disagree, but they have this bad habit of not agreeing with Supreme Court judgments. And had the parliament been named Rahul Gandhi Parliament, then they would have been fine. Just complete my point in 20 seconds. Out of the educational institutions that we have in the country, there are 58 of them. 27 of them have been named in, the name of Gandhi Parivar family members. Rahul Gandhi 16, Indira Gandhi 8 and Jawaharlal Nehru 3. What does it show? That they want all institutions to be named after one family, and if we are trying to bring
Mr. Bhatia,
a building that will
Preeti,
benefit
can I
the
come
sir,
community.
that is not the debate. It's not about the Gandhis naming structures after them. I want to
It is.
get from both your
It is.
permission.
How can-
Okay.
how
But
can
Preeti,
somebody,
I have a right to
Preeti,
respond
what
for
is
5
the point
seconds.
I'm
Okay,
raising?
please, 5 seconds. Just respond. 5 seconds. I want to get
right to
a...
respond for 5 seconds, please.
Go ahead, quickly.
I only want to say this. Instead of debating the merits of what we are debating, he's talking
I've already
nonsensical
stated the
stuff.
merits.
I mean, L.K. Advani and Murli Manohar
Wait.
Joshi today occupy a bungalow because they
Can I
are
have
perceptibly under
10
some threat.
Okay, I need to move away. This is not about the Gandhis or the BJP.
Are elected
No,
MPs.
I object.
Elected MPs.
No,
What
this
sort
is
of nonsense does he
no,
talk about?
no. This is also about the
I
citizens'
object
heritage
too.
of this
I object too.
city.
Let us
And I
not
want to go to
digress
Ram
from
Madhav.
debate.
Can I
I am
please?
sorry.
With both your permission, I want to bail out of this argument and I want to go to Mr. Madhav.
When you're not prepared.
It's not about
Who is
politics
he
as
to
much.
hold
It's
on
about
to?
the heritage which belongs to the citizens of this
He
city.
doesn't have the face-to-face
Sir
questions.
and madam,
They are
come on.
mannerless people.
Please, let's have grace.
People
Let's have grace and allow me to bail out of this
People in this
inept
country are
argument.
dying.
Okay.
Rahul Gandhi and
Okay,
Sonia
it's not
Gandhi
about
are the
Rahul
most
Gandhi, miss.
nonsensical
And you
leaders
still
of
want to
India.
Can I just get Madhav?
Keep
Sir,
quiet.
Mr. Nathan and Mr. Bhatia, with both your permission. It's not about politics, is it, Madhav? It's about citizens owning this city. It's their space.
Absolutely. And in that spirit, let me address my minister, Mr. Puri. In his interview to you, he mentioned that the speaker had given an opinion in 2012. Equally, the speaker in December 2015, Mrs. Sumitra Mahajan, had also made a recommendation that Parliament site must be across the road from Rajpath. I please urge the government, Mr. Puri, very, very humbly as a citizen, please put all this information, the parliamentary committee reports, the heritage studies, the earthquake studies, all into the public domain. Maintain the spirit of this really big judgment that we must all
Can I just have 10
in a
seconds?
constitutionally proprietary manner, all to each his own role. Please.
Okay, 10 seconds, Gaurav Bhatia. I need to conclude.
I just want to say I've already given the merits when I started the debate of having a new building, but just a sec. A co-panelist calling another panelist nonsense is unacceptable. You are the moderator of the discussion. You should ensure some civility. Otherwise, it is unacceptable, and I strongly protest on your program.
All right, sir. Well, I hope everybody will accord the same civility to each other on the panel.
And do you think we did not? Do you think we did not? Why are you trying to generalize the whole thing?
I'm not trying to
You should
generalize
have the
anything,
courage
Mr.
to
Bhatia.
say
I am
that
not
she was
generalizing.
wrong there.
Mr. Bhatia, it is not
Preeti,
about
you
the
should have
Congress
the
or the
courage to
BJP.
say
Come better
that she
prepared
was
with
wrong there.
arguments. instead
It's
of
not about
debate.
okay, Miss Renee, okay, sir, if this serves you better, Miss Renee, please be mindful of your language. Miss Renee, please be mindful of your language the next time around.
70 farmers are dead in this
All
country.
right, madam.
What is he talking about?
Okay.
No, I'm sorry, I will not take that line down. 70 farmers are dead in this country.
Lying
Madam,
down.
make your point.
You are
Madam,
already
make
dead.
your point,
Your
but
party
be
is
mindful
dead.
of your
You are
language.
inside
Let's
the
not
grave
hurt
and you
to
are saying, I will not
civility.
take it lying down.
All right, okay.
Your party is in the grave. What are you talking
All
about?
right, okay. You're talking about the Central Vista. Let's just leave it there.
Names on air.
Okay, can I just leave it there? Appreciate you all for joining us. Madhav, you're smiling away to glory. But ultimately, it's going to come down to the citizens of this city as well. At least what they're asking for is make the process of it all a little more transparent, and we'll take it from there.